IDW Sonic Comic Issue 27. We start out with Amy and Tails running from Zomom as he's chasing them. And then Amy gets brave and smacks him with her hammer. She wastes time saying she can't believe that worked. If she had a brain, she'd still be hitting him at this point. Why would you think one hit would be enough, even if it's to the head? I'd keep hitting him! He tries to eat her hammer. Well, that takes advantage of Zomom well too. And then Tails tries to use his smartness better this time, saying that he can have his lunch. He says he's dropped his lunch when he was being chased. Believing him immediately when he would have seen that if it happened, obviously, and he had no reason to bring the lunch here. Zomom runs away, I guess so desperate to find food. And somehow Amy and Tails have the time to talk to each other about how they don't know what to do when he'd only take a few seconds to look around him. Amy says that if he's that easily distracted, one of them could bait him while the other would grab the emerald. Zomom's mad at them for lying, and Tails flies while carrying Amy to the roof. Somehow Cream has the time to make a huge speech to General trying to talk him out of letting Xena control him, and he's somehow able to hit himself in the head and snap himself out of brainwashing. I was so tense that I didn't even read all of her speech at first and was prepared to skip past her entire scene, because the conclusion was so obvious. Especially since the cover outright tells you that something's gonna happen to Cream. Although it also reminds me of the cover where Tommy Turtle was in the same position as Cream there and he was fine. General says he identified the foreign signal and damaged his wireless receiver to disrupt the electromagnetic signals. Electromagnetic signals? That's how it works? I thought the Zeddy just controlled robots with magic, because they're magical. I never imagined that you could damage a robot in a specific place to make them immune, but I guess that makes sense, as long as you make sure they can't receive signals. It still makes no sense that she could talk him out of being controlled, though. Why did Xena let her say all of that instead of instantly telling General to get her roboticized? What, is she too much of a softie to want that? Cream was rude to her. She called Cream a brat. Immediately, Xena takes control of him again. Huh? That's not how it works? I didn't see that coming at this point, so no wonder he didn't, and didn't just fly away with her to the portal. He says to duck as he's being controlled. Wouldn't his dialogue be controlled by Xena too? Cream spin dashes at Xena, who takes offense to being hit when she tried to get her hit. Cream at least explains to Xena that she hates fighting. How is Xena able to send Cream away? General gets smacked to the floor by a red thing and thrown over to the Robians. Xena grabs Cream and says that Cream thinks she's better than her because she's got the moral high ground and she knows Cream's type. When did she ever grow up with any people like her? I've only ever seen her around the Deadly Six. I guess she did. In Zeddy school. She seems to be jealous of Cream. She taunts her that she thought Cream would be friends with everyone. Yeesh, and they think Lost World made her unlikable. She can be worse than just a stereotypical girl. Is there really a point to showing Cream's scene? It was immediately obvious she was screwed at the end of the last issue, so this just wastes comic space. Although they have to get the emerald to Sonic, somehow. So we have to see that. But it didn't seem like a foregone conclusion that they would win. Metal Sonic could have flew through their portal and gotten the emeralds too. Having her talk about brainwashing isn't worth a waste of time if she's gonna fail anyways. Solomon jumps onto the ground and breaks it, and Tails carries Amy to safety again. Tails is asked if he's okay and says he's just worn out. He says they need to stay right here. He says to wait for it and then says now. How did Amy know to hit the wheel thing with her hammer if Tails didn't tell her to? It was smart of her to figure it out on her own. They thought on the same wavelength without words for once. The two make a good team. The two of them close a gate and make Zomom smack himself into it. Zomom expects me to believe that without an emerald, he can't control the Robians at all, even though he's a Zeddy and Zeddy are able to control robots. How can you screw things up that bad? The whole advantage of having a Sonic fan for a writer was supposed to be that he actually understands the games. But here, he just completely throws away one of the game's rules out of nowhere. Even in the context of the comic. Zavik clearly said, alone, they can control a few dozen Zombots. And he said that in the context of being about to power himself up with the Chaos Emerald. I understand wanting to get Zalmon roboticized, but he obviously needed to keep him knocked out for that to make sense. How stupid does he think we are that we wouldn't question this? But oh, I guess the logic is it's not sadistic enough if he's unconscious because he's not aware of what's happening to him. It's not worth it not making sense though. At least Xena's relatable when she says that her arm is starting to cramp from holding Cream. That's realistic. Emerald somehow sends Robians away from him while surrounding himself with energy. What, with wind magic? Wouldn't the energy just electrocute them and knock them over or something? So General grabs Xena by the hair and smacks her. As I guess she conveniently lets go of Cream out of fear. It's smart of General to take advantage of her long hair and use it as an easy way to grab her. Maybe seeing the scene was worth it for this alone. Now, if Cream had a brain, she'd fly away and into the portal to Angel Island right now, even if it means leaving General behind, because he could be taking control of it again, and when that happens, she'll be screwed. General carries Cream and is asked if he's alright, and Sweetly says he is if she is, and Xena throws General around with her electric whip as he seems damaged from it. He tells Cream now, as it turns out that he got Xena tied up with an electric whip herself. So is it more like a whip made of force fields? That's impressive. No wonder it works as a solid object would despite looking like light. It's actually solid. So Cream takes the emerald. But why is Xena getting untied after this? Xena has plenty of time to start running away after she realizes what happened to her and gets slowly told she hurt Cream from behind. He'd be talking to her slowly, so she just turn around right away and take control of him at worst. These two panels should have been removed. Then it'd make more sense that he had time to grab her and swing her around by the hair. Even if it is kind of believable because she was so stunned by her loss of the emerald that she didn't feel like moving. Just as I was thinking of complimenting the issue for sparing Cream after all, it turns out that Cream got scratched out of complete nowhere. There was no indication whatsoever that she made contact with a Robian. We never saw her get attacked by it. This requires a special level of hatred and spite from the writer. Wow. He was so apathetic to Cream that he didn't even bother showing us how this happened to her. It literally happened off screen. That's sickeningly disappointing. I think I was spoiled on Cream being roboticized, but I didn't think it would be like this. I thought it would be as dramatic as happening to Vanilla. Even Vanilla got more respect. Cream wants him to go back on his own because she doesn't want to make the others sick. General throws the emerald through the portal. He's pretty strong to have thrown it that far. He picks her up and carries her while flying, saying that he'll stay with her until she's well. How does he expect to keep holding her when she's thrashing around? I guess his grip is going to be pretty tight. Man, I wouldn't envy him. I don't see why this happened to Cream. I never saw Robin touch her. That kind of ruined the issue. That's what happens when the plot has so little to it. Even a small scene can have the whole impression be, like, tainted. It would have been good if it actually did end in a complete victory, because that would have impressed me. But no. The flying character gets attacked by ground enemies. The story ends with Sonic telling Eggman at dusk that Zavix found him on Angel Island, which could have easily been written not to happen this early. I'd expect this to never happen. There's like trillions of different bases and he immediately assumes it's Angel Island. Wouldn't it make more sense for him to assume that he warped to one of the bases from other planets? Because that'd be even further away than Angel Island. This issue by Ian Flynn insisted on getting Cream roboticized and was so desperate for it to happen that she got infected without us even seeing it. The entire fight scene was just confusing. How could Cream talk General into resisting the control of an Electro Mage to the point where he'd break himself free? I like that he got Xena tied up with her electric whip, and it makes sense that he used her hair against her. But I didn't see Cream get hit by a Robian all of that time, and it still happened to her? That's idiotic. It literally just looks like it happened to her because a malevolent god reached into the universe of IDW and put it on her out of spite. And by that I mean the writer. Why was it too simple to just write it that General threw her into the Robian crowd because Xena was controlling him? We could have seen her get dropped into Aerobian by Xena. At least General got the emerald and threw it into the portal. But the victory was basically ruined by the tone going dark with no proper excuse for it. This is a Diabolos Ex Machina. It would be ideal if we never saw what she looked like as Aerobian. And once again, a character only got roboticized because of an idiot ball. Cream insisted on going with Emerald when she's supposed to be obedient. She didn't even explain that she thought it was inevitable that he'd be controlled and therefore need her help. She's not early Archie Tails. Since when does she insist on going on dangerous missions? Oh yeah, and Tails got to defeat Zalmon by smartly luring him to a gate. His smartness, well, it makes sense that Tails, being the smart one, would trick the dumb one. His smartness doesn't make up for the fact that Flynn ruined the ending. What the fuck does he have against Cream? Oh, her voice? That's not her fault. That's the idiots who told her voice actress to make her voice squeaky. Apparently she got negative press as a Sonic character from the video game media. So, the fact remains she's still a sweet girl who can fly. Also, I get why the writer would hate Zalmon Xena enough to get them roboticized. Making them get punished at the hands of their own hordes is karmatic justice. But it was common sense to have them knocked out while it was happening. How stupid does he think we are that he thinks we won't call bullshit on them being suddenly unable to control robots? Which is the entire reason that they were recruited. I figured they needed an emerald to control 100 at once, not just a few. Wow, that ending sucked. It was clearly stated that alone they could control a few dozen Zombots. It looks like there's a few dozen here. For the most part, while I was proud of the heroes for winning against Xena, anything can be ruined by the botching of its ending, and it was too tense the whole time to be enjoyable. Well, it seems like they're about to get everybody cured of the metal virus anyways. Considering that the Shattered World Crisis lasted practically the entirety of the reboot comic. Considering how long that lasted, I didn't really trust the writing to not extend the story arc. For all I knew, it would get extended by Sonic being roboticized, and then someone else would have to save the day. Maybe the emeralds would get scattered, and Silver would have to go after them again. So at this point, I don't know if the characters being roboticized is going to be undone right away or not.